He is the lead legal analyst of SI.com. Michael McCann back here on the Rich Eisen Show. Michael, are you surprised by this decision today?
I'm not, Rich. I thought Tom Brady would win, and he did. And I say that because I really thought that the NFL made too many procedural mistakes. The manner in which it went about and punishing Tom Brady. You know, people have said federal courts give great deference to arbitrators, and that's true. But it isn't 100% deference, and I think the judge identified enough problems that I understand why he came out the way he did.
So what do you think were the most egregious procedural problems that the NFL made in this, Michael?
Rick, I think the lack of notice. Clearly, the judge, in his opinion, dwelled on the lack of notice. And the idea is that the NFL, in his view, never adequately explained why Tom Brady was being punished and under what policies. So specifically, Roger Goodell cited the league's steroids policy and its 4-game suspension as somehow being relevant to what Tom Brady may have done. And the judge said, essentially, that's absurd, that there is no connection between a collectively bargained drug policy regarding steroids and whatever Tom Brady may or may not have done. The fact that there's a coincidence that both are 4 games doesn't establish notice. And I think the judge also dwelled on the lack of availability of Jeffrey Pash, the NFL's lead counsel, who edited to some degree. Maybe the changes were only cosmetic. We don't know, but he edited the Wells report. He wasn't available to Tom Brady's attorney. So, you know, just a number of problems, and I think the totality of them led Judge Berman to his decision.
So when you read this report, it leads me to believe, just by reading it, and I'd love to get your legal expertise here, that the judge didn't buy the Wells report at all. That he didn't think it really was worth very much when it comes to deciding any form of discipline whatsoever. Right, Michael?
Yeah, I totally agree, Rich. I mean, he really, I think, looked at the Wells report and said, this is a troubling document, in part because it was framed as independent when it clearly was not, and it used standards of review that were not applicable to Tom Brady. It's fine to use that report to punish the Patriots because the Patriots are subject to a different set of rules. Those rules don't apply to Tom Brady because he's a member of a union and he has collectively bargained protections that the Patriots and Tom Brady, or that the Patriots and Robert Kraft don't have. So I think the judge looked at the Wells report and said, you shouldn't have done everything in one report. It really should have been separate investigations.
Is there anything in here that the judge agreed with the NFL attorneys on, Michael?
I didn't see much. I think the league identified that I think the judge did identify that the league cited the collective bargaining agreement, as one rationale for punishing Tom Brady, and that's what the league should have done. The problem is the league cited other documents as well, documents that weren't collectively bargained, equipment policies. Those don't expressly apply to players, or if they do, the punishment wouldn't be 4 games. So it was certainly a non-complimentary review of the NFL.
And where does it go from here now? Walk me through what the NFL does now that it's definitely going to appeal this, I imagine.
Yeah, the NFL will appeal. It sounds as if Roger Goodell just issued a statement moments ago in which he said the league will appeal. The appeal process could take as long as a year. If the NFL, and likely will, seeks an expedited review by the Second Circuit Court of, that could be resolved potentially in a few months, depending upon how quickly briefs are filed. But the appeals process is going to take quite a while. And Tom Brady is going to be able to play certainly the first 2/3 of the season, and you could argue probably the whole season, before the appellate court makes a decision. Now, you never know what's going to happen with an appeal. And also, Rich, you don't know who the judges are going to be. You know, people have said, well, the Second Circuit, maybe they're liberal, maybe they're conservative. That's irrelevant. There are 23 judges on the Second Circuit, at least 2 of whom will be picked, and you have appointees ranging from President Carter to President Obama. You have some very conservative judges on it. We have no idea at this point who will be on the 3-judge panel. So there are a lot of variables still in play.
Well, and in terms of the aspect of Brady being suspended in any way, shape, or form for not cooperating with the investigation, the judge quoted Paul Tagliabue frequently throughout that section of his decision and what he said about the New Orleans Saints case, in which he overturned the suspensions for Vilma and Hargrove and Smith and Fajita. And we take a look at what happened in this case as well with Peterson and Rice after the initial suspensions were changed. So my question for you is, has the NFL Players Association cracked the code of what it has been attempting to do on commissioner discipline ever since the collective bargaining agreement was signed?
Yeah, it's a great point, Rich. And they really have. They've been able to use the court system to obtain what they can't get through a collective bargaining agreement. And I think part of that reflects the fact that the NFL almost got too much for its own good with Article 46 of the CBA, which deals with player discipline. It's almost as if the clause reads in a way that judges and lawyers find really irksome, because it has so few protections in it that it doesn't correspond to how attorneys look at rules, that there has to be some process in place. And Paul Tagliabue, obviously the former commissioner, but also an attorney, a very skilled attorney, somebody who cares about process and procedure. And I think his rebuke of the penalties in the Bountygate controversy certainly suggests that he cares about process. And we've seen that come up with Ray Rice, former Judge Barbara Jones, and with Adrian Peterson, current Judge David Doty. So all of these reasons, I think, Rich, get to the idea that maybe the NFL got too much for its own good.
Michael McCann, Sports Illustrated legal analyst. Last question for you. The syllabus for your University of New Hampshire Deflategate course, can you now write it? Can you now close it right now?
You know what? I need to see the NFL's appeals. We'll have to see what briefs they file, how they craft it. But to be sure, Judge Berman's decision is going to be in there. But I think there are many more documents to add, because this isn't over. And this is going to probably go into 2016. And, Tom Brady has won, and the Patriots, in effect, have won. But this will be a cloud over them, because there's a chance next summer an appellate court could reverse, and Tom Brady would have to serve, as I mentioned, the first 4 games of 2016. You never know what's going to happen, so it's not over.
Could this go to the Supreme Court, Michael? Seriously, when it all comes down to it?
I mean, the odds of that, Rich, are so low. I mean, the Supreme Court takes only about 1% of cases, and then usually they only do so in certain circumstances, none of which seem immediately apparent here. Usually there has to be a circuit split, so federal circuits disagree about some law,
sure, meaning
there's a difference of law within the country. That's really not at play here. I mean, it's certainly a case that we find interesting. I don't think it's going to gravitate to the Supreme Court.
And how many kids do you have in your class already? Deflategate course.
We have 72 right now, and the enrollment has surged in recent days.
Now, do they have to get permission slips ready for the field trip to the Court of Appeals, Michael?
Hey, you know what? That's a great. I love that idea. I'm going to steal it. We're going to have to get down to New York.
I'm looking. There's liability issues here. I'm just got your back now for a change. You know what I mean?
How about your show sponsors the trip?
Yes, we're in. As long as it's free. If it costs us nothing, I'm in. So, Michael, thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet. You're a good man. That's Michael McCann at McCann Sports Law of Sports Illustrated.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.